Adam sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. The monitor light cast a cold, blue glow on his face, highlighting every wrinkle of worry. Outside his office window on the 30th floor, the city of Chicago flickered with a million lights, but to him, they were just distant, cold dots, devoid of warmth and life. He felt the same way inside. Empty. He was a master in his universe of glass and steel, an executive whose name was spoken with respect and a touch of fear. He could manage 1,000 employees, negotiate multimillion-dollar contracts, and predict market trends with incredible precision. But at home, in the sterile, designer condo that never quite felt like a home, he was helpless. Since Anna left 2 years ago, his world had lost its color. All he had left was work and their daughter, 7-year-old Sophia. And Sophia was silent. Since the day of the funeral, she hadn't spoken a single word. Doctors called it selective mutism post-traumatic shock. For Adam, it was like a quiet, daily torture. He had tried everything money could buy. The best therapists, the most expensive toys, successive nannies who quit after a few weeks, exhausted by the pervasive silence. He didn't know how to reach her. Every attempt at conversation ended the same way. Sophia would look at him with her big, sad eyes, then turn away, closing herself off in her own world, to which he had no entry. That evening, things were even worse. The latest nanny, Mrs. Jenkins, had resigned. She said she couldn't bear the atmosphere any longer, that she felt like she was caring for a ghost, not a child. Adam returned to the empty apartment, where Sophia sat on the rug in her room, surrounded by dolls that were also silent. She didn't look up at him. He made her dinner, which she barely touched. He tucked her into bed, and she simply closed her eyes, without a word of protest, without asking for a bedtime story. Now, back in the office, trying to drown out his thoughts with work, he felt himself breaking. He took out his phone, intending to text his only friend, Mike, who lived on the other side of the country. He used the dictation feature, speaking into the phone in a despairing whisper. "Buddy, I can't take it anymore. She barely ate again. The nanny quit. I'm sitting in this empty house watching her fade away. I feel like I'm losing her. Sometimes I think she'd be happier without me, maybe with Aunt Caroline. I'm a hopeless father." His finger twitched, and by mistake, instead of sending it to Mike, he sent the message to the last person on his contact list. He'd exchanged professional emails with Elizabeth Walker, his boss, the CEO, a woman known for her iron discipline and zero tolerance for weakness. He realized the mistake a second after hitting send. The blood drained from his face. Panic gripped his throat. He tried to cancel the send, but it was too late. One, and then shortly after, 2 check marks read. He closed his eyes, waiting for the inevitable. A phone call of reprimand, an email summoning him to her office, maybe even termination for unprofessional conduct. A minute passed. 2. Nothing. Maybe she ignored it as a strange mistake. 3 minutes. 4. Suddenly, his phone rang, but it was the intercom from the lobby. "Mr. Adam, Ms. Elizabeth Walker is here for you. She says she has an appointment." The doorman's voice sounded confused. Adam was even more shocked. "Please let her up," he stammered, feeling his heart pound. What was she doing here at this hour? 5 minutes. That's all it took. She must have been nearby. Adam rushed to the hallway, trying quickly to tidy up the documents scattered on the sofa. In the mirror, he saw the reflection of a man on the verge of a breakdown. Wrinkled shirt, 3-day stubble, dark circles under his eyes. The doorbell was quiet, but to him, it sounded like a gong. He opened the door. Elizabeth stood on the threshold. She didn't look like the CEO of a major corporation. She was wearing simple jeans, a sweater, and sneakers. Her hair, usually pulled back in an impeccable bun, now hung loosely over her shoulders. Without makeup, she looked younger, more human. In her hand, she held a paper bag from which the scent of warm bread emanated. She looked at him, and there was no condemnation or anger in her eyes. There was something he couldn't name: compassion, understanding. "I'm sorry to drop by unannounced," she said quietly. "I thought maybe you hadn't eaten dinner." He stood paralyzed. He didn't know what to say. He gestured her inside. She stepped in, looking around the cold, minimalist interior. Her gaze stopped at Sophia's bedroom door. "Is she sleeping?" she asked. Adam just nodded, still unable to utter a word. He felt exposed, humiliated. The wall of professionalism he had built over the years had collapsed in an instant because of one stupid text. Elizabeth placed the bag on the kitchen counter. She took out containers of food. "I made too much tomato soup. My daughter loves it. I thought maybe Sophia might like it too." She spoke calmly, matter-of-factly, as if her unexpected visit to an employee's home at 10 in the evening was the most normal thing in the world. "You really didn't have to." Adam finally began, but his voice cracked. "I had to." She interrupted him gently. "I read your message, and I understood. You are not a hopeless father, Adam. You are a father in mourning, trying to cope with something unimaginably difficult." These words hit him with a force he hadn't expected. No one had ever told him that. Everyone expected him to be strong, to pull himself together. He expected it of himself. And now this woman, his boss, was standing in his kitchen telling him he had the right to feel what he was feeling. Something broke inside him. He sank heavily into a chair and buried his face in his hands. For the first time since Anna's funeral, he allowed himself to cry. Elizabeth said nothing more. She simply warmed up the soup and set a bowl in front of him. She sat across from him and quietly ate her portion. This silence was different from the one that usually filled the house. It wasn't heavy or painful. It was calm, full of acceptance. When he finished eating, he felt a little lighter. "Thank you," he said, and the word carried much more than just gratitude for the meal. "You're welcome," she replied. "I'm a single mother too. I know what it's like." She glanced toward Sophia's room. "Can I see her?" Adam hesitated but nodded. He led her to the door and opened it gently. Sophia was asleep, curled up under the comforter with cartoon characters. Her small face was peaceful, but even in sleep, she looked sad. Elizabeth watched her for a long moment. "She's beautiful," she whispered. "She looks like Anna."
Adam flinched.
"You knew Anna?" "Not personally, but I saw you both at a company gala a few years ago. You looked very happy." She turned to him. "You mentioned Aunt Caroline. Would she really be a better option for Sophia?" Her tone was neutral, but Adam sensed something more. He sighed. "Caroline is Anna's sister, but they were never close. Caroline was always jealous of Anna's success, of our life. After my wife died, she started insisting I should hand Sophia over to her care. She claimed a man couldn't raise a daughter. The truth is, she's after the money from the trust fund Anna set up for Sophia." "I see," Elizabeth said. "So you can't trust her?" "No, but sometimes, in moments of weakness like today, I wonder if she's right. Maybe Sophia needs a woman? A mother. Sophia needs a father," Elizabeth said emphatically. "She needs you. She just needs to see that you are truly there. Not just as an executive who provides, but as a dad." She looked at her watch. "It's getting late. I should go." He walked her to the door. Just as she was about to leave, she turned around. "Adam, take tomorrow off. And the day after. Spend that time with your daughter. Not at home. Take her somewhere. Anywhere. To the zoo, the park, the lake. Just be together. And on Monday, we'll talk about your schedule in the office. We'll find a solution." Before he could protest, she was gone. He stood in the hallway, feeling a mix of shame, gratitude, and a strange, long-forgotten hope. That night was a turning point. The next day, for the first time in 2 years, Adam didn't go to work. He woke Sophia and told her they had the day off and were going on a trip. She didn't smile, but a flicker of interest appeared in her eyes. They went to a small local zoo. Adam felt awkward. He didn't know how to act. He tried to tell her about the animals, but his voice sounded artificial. Sophia walked beside him in silence. When they reached the meerkat enclosure, something extraordinary happened. One of the small meerkats ran up to the glass and stood on its hind legs, looking directly at Sophia. The girl stopped and pressed her hand against the cold glass. She stood like that for several minutes, and a shadow of a smile appeared on her face. Adam felt a lump in his throat. He took out his phone and snapped a photo of her. It was the first smile in 2 years. The following weeks brought a slow but steady change. Following Elizabeth's advice, Adam completely reorganized his life. He left work promptly at 5. He spent his evenings with Sophia. It wasn't always easy. It often ended in frustration and silence. But Adam didn't give up. He read books to her even if she didn't react. They drew together and he discovered that Sophia had a real talent. Her drawings were full of colors and life, in contrast to her silent world. Elizabeth became a quiet ally. Sometimes she called under a work pretext, but she always asked about Sophia. A few times, she dropped by on the weekend, bringing homemade cake. Sophia, to Adam's surprise, seemed to accept her. One day, while Elizabeth was helping her build a block castle, Sophia handed her one of the blocks, looking her straight in the eye. It was a small gesture, but it meant so much. Adam watched the scene from the side and felt a pang of jealousy, but immediately followed by immense gratitude. Elizabeth possessed something he was still learning. Simply being there, without expectations, without pressure. Their relationship also changed. At work, they were still boss and subordinate, but outside of it, they slowly became friends. They talked about everything: work, single parenthood, loss. Adam learned that Elizabeth's husband had left her when their daughter was small, leaving her alone with a company on the verge of bankruptcy and a young child. He admired her strength and resilience. The peaceful time, however, couldn't last forever. One afternoon, as they were returning from the playground, Caroline was waiting for them outside their house. She looked furious. "So it's true," she hissed, looking at Adam with contempt. "You're neglecting the child to have an affair with some woman." "Caroline, this is none of your business," Adam replied calmly, standing between her and Sophia. The girl hid behind his legs. "It is my business. You are an irresponsible father. Sophia should be with me, in a stable home, not with you and your flings." She started shouting, attracting the attention of passers-by. "You'll see. I'll take her away from you. We already have a lawyer. The court will see who you really are." Caroline's threat shook Adam to his core. The fear he had managed to control returned with redoubled force. He knew Caroline was capable of anything. A few days later, he received an official court document, a petition to terminate his parental rights. The accusations were absurd but sounded threatening. Emotional neglect, instability, prioritizing his professional and personal life over the child's well-being. That evening, Adam called Elizabeth. He told her everything, his voice trembling with helplessness. "She's going to win," he said quietly. "She'll use every lie. She'll say Sophia doesn't talk because of me, and I have no proof that it's otherwise. For the past 2 years, I've been a terrible father. Everyone will confirm it." "No, Adam," Elizabeth replied with unwavering certainty. "She won't win. We will fight. Together." The next day, she recommended the best family law attorney in New York City. She helped him gather documentation from Sophia's therapists and reports from the school. She herself wrote a statement as a witness, describing his transformation and commitment to caring for his daughter. Adam was touched by her support. In the darkest moment of his life, he was not alone. The trial was a nightmare. Caroline's lawyer relentlessly attacked Adam, portraying him as a cold, absent workaholic. He called witnesses, former nannies who complained about the difficult atmosphere at home. Adam sat in the courtroom, listening to these half-truths and lies, and felt the ground slipping out from under him. When it was his turn to testify, he was terrified. He looked at Elizabeth, who was sitting in the front row. She gave him a reassuring smile. He looked at Sophia, who was sitting next to the court-appointed advocate, drawing something in her notebook. She looked so small and fragile in that large, austere room. And then he understood. It wasn't about defending himself. It was about telling the truth. He stood up and went to the witness stand. His voice was uncertain at first, but with every word, it grew stronger. "Your Honor," he began, "much of what Miss Caroline's lawyer has said is true. After my wife's death, I buried myself in work. I was running from the pain, from the responsibility. I was an absent father. I believed money could replace time and love. I was wrong. He paused, looking directly at the judge. But that has changed. For the past few months, I've been learning to be a father again. I've been learning to listen to my daughter's silence. I've been learning to be present. I know I made many mistakes, but I love my daughter more than anything in the world. And I will never, ever give her up. He spoke straight from the heart, not hiding his pain or regret. He told the story of their trip to the zoo, Sophia's first smile, and her drawings, which were their only form of conversation. When he finished, silence reigned in the courtroom. The judge, an older woman with a stern expression, looked at Sophia. "Sophia," she said gently, "I know you don't like to talk, but could you show me what you drew?" The advocate handed the notebook to the judge. On the page was a drawing. It showed the large figure of a man and a small girl holding hands. Next to them stood a smiling woman with brown hair. All three stood beneath a large, colorful sun. The judge looked at the drawing for a long moment. Then she looked at the girl. "Sophia, can you tell me who you would like to live with?" Everyone held their breath. Caroline's lawyer smirked confidently, certain the child would remain silent, which would work in his favor. Sophia looked up. Her eyes found Adam. She looked at him for a moment, and then her gaze shifted to Elizabeth. She took a deep breath. And then, after 2 years of silence, in a quiet but clear voice, she said one word, "Daddy." The word hung in the air, more powerful than all the accusations and testimonies. Adam felt tears welling up in his eyes. Caroline paled. The judge smiled for the first time that day. The verdict was a formality. Caroline's petition was dismissed. When the judge struck the gavel, Adam leapt from his seat and rushed to Sophia. He picked her up and hugged her with all his might, whispering thanks and words of love in her ear. Sophia held him tightly around the neck, and for the first time in a very long time, he felt that his daughter was truly with him. When they left the courthouse, Elizabeth was waiting for them. She was smiling through tears. Without saying a word, she walked over and hugged them both. They stood there for a moment on the steps of the court building. A new, improbable family, united by an accidental text and the extraordinary courage of a little girl. A year later, a warm summer afternoon, laughter could be heard in the backyard of Adam's Brooklyn brownstone. Sophia, now a talkative 8-year-old, ran across the grass, chasing butterflies. Adam sat on the patio with Elizabeth, holding her hand. They watched the laughing girl. "Daddy, Lizzie, look how big the one I caught is," she shouted, running toward them with her hands cupped together. Adam's life had changed beyond recognition. His home was no longer a sterile condo, but a place full of warmth, laughter, and Sophia's colorful drawings hanging on every wall. At work, he was still an executive, but his schedule was now adapted to Sophia's needs. Elizabeth, as his boss and now partner, made sure that balance was the priority. Adam smiled, looking at Elizabeth. "I never thought one stupid text could change everything." Elizabeth squeezed his hand. "Sometimes, to see the light, you have to hit rock bottom. And sometimes, to find love, you have to text the wrong person." Sophia opened her hands and the butterfly flew up toward the sun. The girl laughed. Adam felt a warmth in his heart that he had missed for so long. He no longer felt empty. He felt complete.